Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk. You don't know, my name's Chad. Taking time on sports. And welcome to week 4 of college football landscape, where I do another preview of 10 exciting 10 exciting matchups, where I get to pick and choose who I think is going to win. And if you followed along through the rest of the week, I've not done very well in terms of that aspect. Last week I went 5-5. Picking my 10, some little extra games that throw out there just for the fun of it, and going 6-2 last week in those games. So I have another 10 on the slate for you guys today, as well as some other extra games out there. There's another 8 actual extra games I kind of look at as well, and some in-race matchups. We got 3 ranked versus ranked teams, quite a few, and unsuspecting undefeated versus undefeated that are not ranked, because it's 2 programs no one ever thought would be at this point. But before diving all that nonsense, if you could go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me, especially if the content provided you really pleases YouTube guides and helps promote the channel out. You can also subscribe. A lot of you guys review my work. I love you for doing that. Now, maybe you subscribe. It's cost you a dime and helps me provide more entertainment value for you. All right. So, like I said, last week I went 5-5 on my 10, and it hasn't been pretty. I think overall, I'm looking over here, 20-14 overall. I've not been picking the right ones. I think I've been going after a lot of upsets, taking other teams for granted as well. So you got that one. So let's go ahead and just kick this one off with these are, of course, the AP rankings. Number 20, Florida visiting number 11, Tennessee. Tennessee's coming to this match undefeated. Right now, heavy favorites. I think they're time of this video favored by 10.5. And I think just because there's not many only ones in Florida that really scream, watch out for the Gators. I said after that win against Utah, they got lucky. I guess they won't win because they were lucky last week and taking all Kentucky last time they actually played anyone tough, because they beat South Florida last week, which South Florida. But with this aspect, this is another tough SEC opponent. Tennessee looks like it's on the rise, because right now Hooker, who has over 800 yards passing with 6 touchdowns, is looking to really vitalize his offense. But I think everything goes through Wright and the running back. He only has 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, but if he can have a very productive day that would take some pressure off of Hooker, then he could be able to pick apart the Florida secondary. The Florida secondary is nothing to shy away from, but I just think it's just too much talent in Tennessee. Richardson is a dual threat quarterback that's more of a threat with his legs and his arm. So first thrown 4 picks, so I think that's going to end up hurting them in the end. I don't see this being a 10-plus point victory for Tennessee. I do think Florida probably will make this a game just to really make people suffer their Rocky Top. But they're going to fall short, and Tennessee is going to win, but will be less than 10. And then we'll have a nice clash in the ACC between 5th-ranked Clemson and 21st-ranked Wake Forest. The battle of the unbeatens. Is Clemson back? That is the question. Right now, they are favored by this one by 7.5, so a little bit closer, because Hartman is just definitely, I think he's the better quarterback of the two. But it's that defense that Clemson has that's going to probably make the difference. It's going to be a true test. I think Clemson is on upset alert on this one. Hartman will keep the Deacons in contention throughout the game. I think Wake's defense will be enough to kind of stifle a little bit of Clemson a little bit. It's just going to be a mistake that's going to lead to the end. But I really think that Clemson's going to edge out Winston-Salem with the victory. But like I said, they're favored by 7.5. Is going to be a lot closer than that. Probably 3 points. So if you want to take Wake for the points, that's probably a better shot. And I think Hartman might have another 3-touchdown day. Right now he's stacking up the stats right now. So probably gonna have like 3 touchdowns and a pick. And I'm not gonna try to pronounce the Tigers quarterback. Sorry. I don't want to butcher names this early. But I think he's going to probably have a couple touchdowns himself. It's going to be really Shipley. It's going to be the focus of the attack for the Tigers. But it's just going to be, like I said, it's going to be a back-and-forth game between these two. It's going to be a mistake that will help Clemson win at least by 3 points. And then the last of the ranked games is the Southwest Classic being played in Arlington between Arkansas and A&M. You know, both of these schools have come up with some disappointing games these past couple of weeks. Arkansas just recently almost got upset by Missouri State at home, and we all know Texas A&M got upset by App State at home. Then they rebounded against Miami. Now, this is a game last year I took for granted with Arkansas's ability. This year, I'm not going to overlook that. Arkansas is coming here undefeated. A&M in 10th ranked, while A&M's 23rd with a 2-1 record. Right now, A&M's favored by 2, so it's definitely a close game. They did make the switch at quarterback, so maybe that will help A&M, even though they looked good early against Miami, but after a while, the offense went back to the same thing. I think A&M probably do the exact thing again, jump out early in Arkansas, but Arkansas has shown tenacity in every game, even Cincinnati. There was a show tenacity against them and held them off. Was able to come back far behind Missouri State. Note, that's not the same as taking on Texas A&M or any other SEC program. But it gives them their grit and their desire to stay in games. And last year, I went against them in this matchup. This year, I am not going to do that. I am taking the Hogs to win the Southwest Classic to go to 4-0 overall. And really make that SEC West really interesting. Next one is, I think, a game that no one is talking. This is between 2 undefeated programs that you would not normally see being undefeated in football. These are between 2 schools that are basketball blue bloods. That's right, Duke and Kansas square off in Manhattan, Kansas, as undefeated opponents. Kansas has really stifled a lot of teams. They went into Morgantown and knocked off West Virginia. They outmuscled the Houston Cougars, who has an explosive offense. And if you watch some of the highlights of that game, you watch the Houston Cougars fight themselves more than Kansas. Duke has amassed a nice little string of victories themselves. No one really important. I mean, they did beat Northwestern and Temple. It's probably the 2 biggest games. And Temple they shut out. But beyond that one, no one really that will flip the switch on anyone. And Kansas right now is favored by 7 in this game. So, you know, the Jayhawks win by 7 against the Blue Devils on the hard court in March Madness. This is where you normally want to see in March Madness is a battle between these 2 programs. But the fact that both schools are undefeated, I think, and you think at the end of this one, someone's still going to be undefeated. I mean, that's just a mind-boggling aspect that that's going to happen. It's been, well, I think almost 20 years since Kansas really had a really dominant football team, only to lose the last week of the season and miss out. But, yeah, and Duke, I don't think they've ever had a dominant team in football. I may be wrong, but, you know, there's not no see. And for me, I am not taking, I'm not overlooking Kansas on this one. I overlooked them against West Virginia, and of course everyone did then. I overlooked them against Houston, and they just destroyed the Cougars. Overall, just kind of took them out of their mindset. And I really think that Even though Kansas doesn't really have an explosive rushing or passing attack, they're just a very stable. They average pretty much 453 yards. So I really think that with this being said, I really look at this and look at the defensive aspects and where they are. And Duke overall looks like they're a better team in that aspect, but they also got to look at who Duke played compared to who Kansas played. So looking at those stats, I can't go their way. But overall, I think I'm just going to go with Kansas. I'm going to buy in on them on here. But we'll see what happens when they take on like Oklahoma or Iowa State later on in the year. But I'll take Kansas, and I'll take the points as well. Then we're headed to Ann Arbor, where we have undefeated Maryland coming to play to take on the undefeated Wolverines. To give the Wolverines their first test of the season, because Michigan's played nothing but cupcakes so far. And we'll see if Tagovailoa can continue being a quality quarterback there with the Terrapins. Right now, the Wolverines are favored by 17. But let's see who they played to get this spread and this rank, because right now they're ranked number 4 in the nation. It's early season, so I'm not going to take too kindly into the ranks themselves. But let's see, they beat Colorado State, posted 51. Beat Hawaii, posted 56. Shut out UConn, posted 59. No one there really has a defense, so I am not too worried about that one. On the flip side, Maryland's opponents, not much better, but I think having SMU is a slight better than some of the other ones Michigan's had, and they struggle against SMU. So I'm not sure why Michigan's favored by 17. I do believe Maryland's going to make this more of a game than what Michigan fans want, and I still believe Michigan's going to win this one. I think they're just a better team than Maryland. So we'll kind of see, once they get into Big Ten play, maybe that's when we'll really see the true nature of the Blue and Maize up there in the big house. But I'm going to take Michigan in this one. I think there's too much talent compared to that one, but I think Maryland has the better quarterback. That's about it. But I will take Michigan, but not by 17. It's going to be a lot closer than that one. And then we'll head out west, and we're going to head out to Corvallis, Oregon once again, where Oregon State will play host to ranked USC in a key matchup in the Pac-12. Oregon State goes in this matchup undefeated, and not really getting a lot of love in terms of their ability to beat USC. I think they'll give USC trouble, much more like Fresno State did. There's just right now just too much talent on this USC team. A lot of talent came in with Lincoln Riley when he made the move over. Oregon State's going to test them. I have no doubt about that one. So right now USC is only favored by 6, and I think the Trojans should be on upset alert on this one. I think the Beavers will give them all they can handle. Oh, how many times I said that already? But with that being said, with Caleb Williams back there, that's the X factor. But he has known to throw a few picks here and there, and I think that's what's going to happen. But USC is still going to end up winning. Like I said, line's by 6. It's going to be at least 6. So Trojans will escape Corvallis with a victory, and continue on their trajectory for a wonderful, wonderful postseason. Then we'll just head up north over there in Pullman, Washington, as the Beavers are headed to undefeated Washington State. And it's just another one of these very unique aspects in the Pac-12, where another ranked team. Right now, Oregon's ranked 15th, way too high, especially after the blowout loss to Georgia. They should be a lot lower. Of course, being BYU really helped them out, so I'll give them kudos for that one. And right now, Oregon's favored by 6.5. Washington State right now is just on fire with a war with over 700 yards passing and 8 touchdowns. And with this aspect, the Oregon team, you're not sure who you're going to really get. Are you going to get the one that just laid an 8 against Georgia, or the one that had more good plays than bad plays against BYU? They had quite a few bad plays against BYU, but BYU could not capitalize. Especially when the center trying to snap it to Bo Mix, and then I don't know who he's trying to go to, unless he was drunk and saw a double, so he hit to the other Bo Mix that wasn't there, and BYU picked up the loose ball. That was kind of funny. But I think Oregon should be on upset alert on this one as well. And I'm going to take Washington State to knock off Oregon at home, which will drive the fans of Pullman wild and should help catapult the Cougars into the top 25 maybe. And it's time to head out to the Horseshoe, where the third-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes will play host to Wisconsin. This is going to be a test for C.J. Stroud. This is a Wisconsin team that always plays tough against Ohio State, and Ohio State right now is favored by 19. I do not see that happening because Wisconsin can run. And I think that's what's going to be hampering Ohio State, is try to stifle the running attack. If you do that, you will open up the passing lane. So Ohio State is going to be tested in this one. It will not be a pretty game for the Buckeyes. Wisconsin's going to sniff an upset, but fail in the fourth quarter as Ohio State just flips the switch and pulls it off with at least a 10-point victory. I don't think it's going to be my 19. I do think Ohio State's going to knock off Wisconsin, but it's not going to be 19. It's going to be closer than that one. So you're going to take Wisconsin for a point. You'd probably be better suited for that, but Buckeyes for the win. And then we're going to have another unique aspect where another ranked team goes into an undefeated, unranked school. Big 12 play, as Baylor will now visit Iowa State. And this one should be very interesting, as well, as not a lot of people are right now. Iowa State's favored by 2.5 actually. So not a lot of people are buying into Baylor yet. Way Iowa State's played, especially when their Cyhawk trophy battle with Iowa. They came out there. Deckers has just been phenomenal. Has 8 passing touchdowns, 745 yards, also passing. So they're definitely he's definitely that. And he's got a dynamic receiver. That's his favorite target, Hutchinson, who has over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. So those two are a dynamic 1-2 punch that Baylor's going to have to try to shut down. But then you also have Brock in the backfield for him. So the Cyclones have some talent and some weapons, just not the love to go with it. Once I am going to go with the spread here. I am taking Iowa State, and I will say definitely they'll beat them more than 3. I think it's going to be like a 6-point victory for the Cyclones. They should knock out Baylor at top 25, and they should take their place, basically. And the last of my games for my 10 games I'm going to pick is Minnesota taking on Michigan State. Minnesota comes in as a contest undefeated. Michigan State's coming off of that woeful performance they had against Washington. Even though they tried to come back towards the end, there were just too many mistakes early and defensive misfortunes that kind of led to their demise. Right now, Minnesota's favored by 3. And I think they're taking a look at what happened with the Michigan State team up there in Seattle. But I'm not totally sold on the Golden Gophers just yet. I know they will have a good team that will be competitive in the West Division of the Big Ten. They should get some other schools, some other issues out there. I'm going to go with Michigan State on this one. I think they need this one to get back on their right track, because they have some major games got coming up anyways. Of course, they're in-state rivals. Michigan, they still got Penn State, still got Ohio State. So they still got 3 other big matchups they got to take on. So they can't go in those games with 2 or 3 losses. They're going to be out of any contention for any Big Ten title shot or even a New Year's Six bowl. So they're going to need this win to kind of help them out, kind of prop them back up and kind of use that Washington loss as a good loss and help them propel them further on down the road. But it's going to be close. Minnesota, it will not lay down quietly, because if you kill one gopher, there's always two other ones in the hole that will drag another hole and bring down a Spartan. Sorry, bad analogy, but I had to do something to mascots. But anyways, I'm still going to go with the Spartans on this one, but it's definitely going to be close. I think it's going to be at least a 3-point game. Right now, the over-under on this one's 50.5. And yeah, it's going to be a fun, entertaining matchup between these two. Well, those are my 10 games that I'm going to go with as my top picks. So there are definitely some interesting games out there that should tantalize the senses and really have you loving this week of college football. Especially you have those three ranked versus ranked matchups, and then a basketball showdown on the gridiron. I'm really interested in that one. I really want to see how good Kansas really is. It's just shocking that not much is given to them because of their history in playing. So, but I want to probably give that one a watch. Now, some of the games that I can find interesting that actually kind of broke down here and there. One's James Madison taking on Appalachian State. I know not a lot of hype is going on by this one because it's two Sunbelt members, but App State's always one of these programs that just does very well. They proved it against A&M, but then they had to struggle, come back for a Hail Mary against Troy. Phenomenal. I mean, the Hail Mary was short of the end zone. The guy was like, 6-8 yards out and still made it in. That was just phenomenal by App State. And James Madison is one of those old school, not really old school, but an FCS powerhouse that is making their FBS debut this season. They won the first matchup against Middle Tennessee. And they will provide a lot of issues with Appalachian State. And I almost went with James Madison on this one just because of the history. And these two do have a history back in the FCS as well. So there's no love lost between these two schools. But I am going to take App State this one. I know they're favored. I want to see here because I got it written down. They're actually favored by 7. So I think it's going to be closer in that one. I really do. I think it's going to be another last-minute heroics by App State, the Cardiac Mountaineers. But I will give it to App State in this one. But I think it's going to be by 3. I think it's going to be a game-winning field goal with this one. And then, of course, for me, Notre Dame taking on North Carolina. Notre Dame's offense is still sputtering. They showed life later on against Cal. That's because I think Tommy Rees kind of laid into a pine to do his job, if you can read lips. And I think they actually, the offensive line actually decided to show up, use their mask, what they were taught it for in the offseason when they came into the season is the offensive line and this rushing attack by the Irish should help propel them. It took them 2.5 games to really kind of determine that. So I think with that one, they should be able to do some nice running attacks. The defense should be somewhat decent, but it's North Carolina. Mac Brown's got them thinking a new way. Right now, it's like a 1.5 for the Tar Heels in this one. I think it's going to be close as well, but that win against Cal, I think it's going to be one of the few that the Irish will have this season. It's just a first-year head coach a lot of times does not do very well in Notre Dame. So it normally takes him 2 years to really identify and get his players and his system actually firmly in place and everyone buying into his system. But I think Notre Dame's going to struggle once again. The offensive woes will continue, and the Tar Heels will end up beating the Irish. Next one, we'll go head out to Lubbock, where the Red Raiders will play host to Texas. Both schools are 2-1. Why Texas is still ranked, I have no idea. I mean, I get that they took Alabama to the wire, but then they struggled against UTSA. It's just one of the things. They got ranked for a loss, but they should have got out of the rankings for the win. And I mean, that's just my opinion there. And Texas Tech has a phenomenal passing attack. led by Smith, who has over 700, almost 800 yards passing to get 7 TDs. But it's the running attack by Robinson and the Longhorns. That's what Texas Tech has to handle. So it's the aerial show by the Raiders, but the stampede by the Longhorns. Who's going to win? Texas right now is favored by 7, and I'm taking Tech. I just think the aerial attack will be too much for the Longhorns to really sustain. And I think after a while they'll be able to corral the rushing attack, and Longhorns have to go in the air, and I think that's where they're going to have the advantage. And that one's probably going to slip underneath the radar because I don't think many are really going to take a huge interest in this. Is Iowa is heading out to Boise to take on the Scarlet Knights. And, this one's one of these little sneaky little good ones where you kind of look at this one as like, okay, how we're going to really kind of go with this one. Because right now Rutgers is undefeated. They got that good win against BC, win against their old school rival Temple. They used to be rivals back in the old Big East football days. And Rutgers has got a good, quite a little program. Iowa has struggled. Last week they were able to finally win, but they didn't play anyone tough. They couldn't score any touchdowns against South Dakota State. They struggled against Iowa State. And I think Rutgers are going to give them all they're going to handle. Right now, Iowa's favored by 8, and I'm calling for another upset on this one. I'm going to go Rutgers. I think there's something missing in Iowa right now. I'm not sure what it is. But they definitely need to get their offense in gear. I think that's the main problem. The defense for the Hawkeyes, is top-notch. Keeping them a lot of games. Keeping them this one as well, but it's just going to be mistakes by the Iowa offense that Rutgers will be able to capitalize, and Rutgers going to escape part with a last-minute game-winning field goal against the Hawkeyes. And then another one that's probably should be more interesting than what people really think is Wyoming is going to head into Provo, take on BYU. Both schools only have one loss. Wyoming's defense shut down the Air Force ground attack. The Air Force had the nation's leading rushing offense, and they shut them down. I mean, they could not do anything. And I think that time frame they were highly that they were undefeated. And BYU comes in after losing in Eugene, and with the possibility of really getting themselves a good marquee win against Oregon. Has got to lick their wounds. Right now, BYU is favored by 21.5. Now, I do think that the BYU is better than Air Force, and they have a better offensive attack, especially with Hall, who's over 800 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. I think Wyoming's front line should give them some issues. Maybe disrupt some a little bit of the timing, and then Wyoming's rushing attack should keep BYU honest and open up the passing lanes for them. However, with me praising the Cowboys in this aspect, I do not see them being BYU. There's just too much talent in BYU, and they'll find a way to stifle early success by the Cowboys and come back in the second half and just open it up. Right now, BYU is favored by 21.5. No. This is going to be a lot closer than what BYU wants. It's probably at least a 14-point victory, but Wyoming should cover the points and run it over under 50. I'm halfway tempted to go under on that one as well, but I don't really mess with those too much. But I'll definitely take BYU for the win, then hold off a possible upset bid by the Cowboys. Then the battle for the Iron Skillet between SMU and TCU. That's always a fun matchup. The old Southwest clash. Always come in an annual meeting between these two hated rivals in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So they're both on the opposite sides of it. And right now SMU is, actually TCU is favored by 2, excuse me. But with the history between these two, I'm going to take SMU. I don't know. They played Miami pretty tough, and Tagovailoa as their quarterback, and they kept up with them and just couldn't, do much of anything else. And TCU hasn't really been tested yet, so this is going to be one where I think the SMU offense is going to be too much, because Mordecai is over 1,000 yards passing already, and he's only played 3 games. No, he hasn't played a lot of big defenses, so that's going to play a huge factor in that as well. But I will take SMU to win the Iron Skillet. All right, another one on the list is going to be Indiana taking on Cincinnati. Cincinnati used this game last year to springboard them into the national spotlight on their way to an undefeated season, especially after they knocked off Notre Dame last year. Right now, Cincinnati is favored by 16.5. Indiana's going to be a lot peskier than that, because they come in there undefeated, overlooked once again. But of course, it's early season. Most schools that are undefeated early in the season get overlooked because most of the time they're not playing schools that give them some beef. And when Cincinnati went down to Fayetteville, Arkansas, they gave the Razorbacks all they could handle. So I can see why they're being favored that much, because they don't think Indiana can step up to the plate, basically. But I am going to go on a limb, and I'll take the Hoosiers in an upset. Nothing's really saying that it's going to be this way. But Cincinnati has not impressed me in their games. Even their victories haven't been really that impressive. So I'm going to take Indiana on this one, but this one could bite me. They could be the catalyst that Cincinnati needs to really get back into the New York Six conversation. But I will take Indiana in the upset. And last but not least, we'll head back out to the Pac-12 country. Out there in Berkeley, we're 2-1. Cal will host 2-1 Arizona. That's right, Arizona has 2 wins. Knocked off San Diego State and held off an upset bid by North Dakota State at home. So Arizona's got some good wins already, even though North Dakota State is FCS, but it's the FCS powerhouse. So you got to take that into account. DeLora is actually proven to be a decent quarterback right now. He's got almost 750 yards passing and 6 TDs. 5 of those TDs go into Coing. So they have a nice 1-2 combo and nice tag team action going on. Cal was stifling the Notre Dame for most of the game. Just couldn't eke it out in the end. And Plumbers is a quality quarterback as well. So he should be going toe for toe with DeLoria. Right now, Cal's favored by 3. And this is another one where there's one team I've overlooked most of the season, and that's Arizona. In all 3 games they played, I had not picked the Wildcats. I picked San Diego State to beat them. I picked Mississippi State to beat them, which did, and I picked North Dakota State to win in Tucson. So Arizona is also another one of these schools that you don't really see them performing up to this level, but they are starting to believe in themselves, and this is a key start of their Pac-12 role. They're not going to win the Pac-12, mind you, but they will make some noise and probably turn some heads. So I'm going to go with U of A in this one, beating Cal. Like I said, Cal's favored by 3, but I think it's going to be the other way around. I think it's going to be the Wildcats winning by 3. Well, those are my games. All the games, all the 10 that I'm going to go with, and then my extra 8. I had a lot of games on here. This is a fun and interesting weekend. So, what do you think about picks? Do you think they're a little off wall? Do you think my upsets are right, or do you think a few other upsets could happen? I mean, that Notre Dame, North Carolina game, I think could go either way, really, but I do think that North Carolina's going to have their number. May is just phenomenal, and he's going to probably shred that secondary. I don't know. I did, like I said, once again, I try to pick a few upsets in here, kind of make things interesting. My limited knowledge of college football has proven these past 3 weeks, only having 20 wins. If you go off my 10 picks and then my extras, I only have 32 wins, so not the greatest soothsayer when it comes to these games, but like I said, a lot of interesting football this weekend. Going to be glued to watch a lot of these games, and can't wait to see how a lot of these games turn out. Just let me know down in the comments below what you think. Who you think is going to end up winning this weekend? Who you think is going to on the upset alert, other than what I've already mentioned? While there, you can hit that thumbs up once again. You can also share this video with friends and family. It really helps promote this channel out. Once you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification. I'll let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.